Hi and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about condensation and ventilation. This is one of the most important things to have a grasp of when building a van. It's something that crops up all the time, people saying, oh, I've got condensation in my van, how do I get rid of it? And it's something that's misunderstood a lot. So hopefully I'm going to help you to understand what causes condensation and how we can deal with it. So what causes condensation? Condensation is water vapour in the air. You can't see it most of the time. When you breathe out, you're actually breathing out a load of water vapour. If you've ever been in a car when it's cold, you see the windows steam up, that's condensation from your breath. Other big contributors inside a van would be showers, any cooking you're doing, boiling a kettle. And unlike inside a house is much bigger than the van, and there's more space, there's more air to absorb that water. In a van you're in a very condensed space, so it's quite difficult to manage. Now the first thing that will help massively is heating. The warmer the air is, the more water it can absorb. That's why cold places are often more damp. However, that only works to a certain point. There's only so much water the air can absorb when it's warm. So you then need a way of that air to be able to circulate and ventilate to get out the van. That's where ventilation comes in. I would massively recommend having at least one fan in the roof. These are max air fans, probably the most common type you'll see on vans. Now I actually have two of them, which is probably overkill. The reason I've got two of them, the theory is that I can have one drawing air in, because they can be ran either drawing air in or pushing it out, and the other pushing it out. So that air comes in, it gets warmed up, it absorbs moisture, it gets pushed out the van. So that was the theory when I designed the van. In actual real-time use, I've mainly only used this in winter so far, and I found I'm only using one of the fans. So if I was doing it again, I would probably just have one large fan and one in the bathroom, because the other downside of having two is you're using up roof space that you could be using for solar panels. However, hopefully in the summertime it will come into its own when it's really hot, because it'll help take heat out of the van. We'll see. Now if you're going to have a shower room, I would absolutely recommend you need a separate fan in the shower room. So I have this Max Air dome fan. It's much smaller than the regular square fans that I have inside. It's pretty cheap. You just simply push up the handle and turn on the fan, and it also has a really cool built-in light, and that helps get condensation out of the bathroom. I'll actually do a whole separate video, a bit of a review on Max Air fans, because I think there's plenty to talk about those. Now if I was just going to have one Max Air fan, thinking about where I'd place it, I would probably just go with this one at the kitchen end, because it's nearer the appliances that create steam, it's nearer the bathroom. Now the most controversial area when it comes to insulation and ventilation, you probably heard of, it's called a vapour barrier. I'm only going to touch on this briefly because it's been argued to death all over the internet. The theory is you've got your insulation in the walls, and the vapour barrier is what's used in a normal house. It's a sort of waterproof sheet that covers your insulation, so it stops the condensation getting to your insulation and the insulation absorbing it and becoming wet and damp. That's the theory. The argument against that is unless it's a perfect seal over the insulation, then water vapour can actually get in behind it and then it's trapped there. That's the theory. There's a lot of controversial opinions on it. If you listen to Greg Virgo, who does a load of really good YouTube channels, he swears by them. He is I think if I remember, heating and air conditioning engineer, so he does really go into the science of it. Everyone has their opinion. You're welcome to argue about it in the comments. In real time, real-time use is what I like to base my opinions and experience of. I've so far had zero problems with condensation in this van. I don't expect to, because I have a good heating system and I regularly ventilate it. Now if for whatever reason you're not going to fit a fan, you haven't got space on the roof anymore, or you just can't afford one thing that will also help is just cracking the windows open when you're inside the van. And these black plastic strips you can see are called wind deflectors or rain guards. And these are a good solution because they allow you to leave the window slightly open without letting in loads of rain. Other solutions people use are these damp traps you can buy. They contain some sort of chemical that absorbs water. They do these little pots, and they also have hanging versions. Although bear in mind, in the long run, the cost of these is probably going to be more than just buying a fan in the first place. So in short, the easiest way to think about dealing with condensation is heating and ventilation. Ventilation is so important. It's very easy to overlook if you're building a van in the summer and you think, yeah, it's going to be summertime forever. Because in the winter time, if you don't have ventilation, you're going to get water dripping onto you off the ceiling, your bedding soaked. You always see on Facebook groups, winter time, there's a post every day from someone, help, my van's damp now, what's going on, how do I solve it? I hope that's been of help. Any questions, please leave them in the comments, and as usual, please like and follow me for more van content. Bye.